Hi, my name is Kate, this is my channel, and this is my reading wrap up for December 2017. I read 14 books in December, which is my best reading month of 2017. I was powering through to reach my 100 book goal for the year, and I made it. I achieved my goal at about 4 o'clock on the 31st of December. So I'm pretty happy with that. But 14 books is a lot of books, so I'm going to sort of power through them and only give you very brief synopses and my thoughts because I've got a lot to get through. So I'm just going down a pile. Excuse me. Just going to go down the pile. These are in no particular order. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Big Jump by Lee Brackett. I bought this as a second-hand copy because I'm wanting to read more books by female science fiction writers and older female science fiction writers. This was very, very much a book of its time, and I was surprised by how much of the gender politics upset me and squeaked me out, considering it was written by a woman. It was okay. There was nothing special about it. It was very much of its time, which is, I think, about the 50s. So that's The Big Jump by Lee Brackett. The next one I'm going to talk about is To Say Nothing of the Dog by Connie Willis. This is another book in the Oxford historian, Oxford scholar or whatever sequence of books. This one is when they're going back in time to the Victorian era. There's been some sort of mishap with time-space continuum, and they've accidentally brought something forward in time which is supposed to be impossible, so they're trying to fix it. It's madcap and slapstick and utterly hilarious, and I loved it so much, and Connie Willis is a genius. So that's To Say Nothing of the Dog by Connie Willis. The next thing that I've got to talk about is the Book Smuggler's Quarterly Almanac Volume 1, which is June 2016. I've had this for ages, and it's taken me a while to get to it. This is just short stories and like essays or articles published by the Book Smugglers. There were some pretty good stories in here, some good reviews, but often I'd already read the thing because it's, June 2016. I heard probably the best story was Cookie Cutter Superhero by Tansy Rena Roberts, and I also really enjoyed actually How to Piss Off a Failed Super Soldier by John Chu. Yeah, so I found that to be quite good, bit of a light read. The next thing that I have to talk about, I did a review on, and I was really, really excited because the author actually commented on my video, and this was like one of my foundational books as a child. I thought I had lost this copy, but then I found that my parents had it at their house when I went to visit at Christmas. So that's The Centre of Magic by Pamela Freeman. I've got a full review of that, so if you want to hear more about it, check out that review. But overall, it was fun for a children's book. Okay, so powering through. Oh my goodness, I'm very impressed with myself. So this one is The Collapsing Empire by John Scalzi. This is the third Scalzi book that I've read, but I haven't read any of his big books. So this is probably the biggest one of his that I've read. I really enjoyed it. It was fun and it went through the plot quite quickly. It was very snappy, and I quite liked the premise about the flow, I think they called it. Yeah, the flow, which is like the wormhole kinds of things that people travel through to different parts of space, and the concept that it was going to collapse and totally upset the society and the empire that everyone lives in was really interesting, and I really liked the main character, the emperor. What was their name? The Empress. I can't remember her name, but she was really cool, and I liked her. And a lot of the side characters were also pretty cool. So I really recommend The Collapsing Empire, and I'm really looking forward to book 2, and I'm really looking forward to checking out other Scalzi books. I'm not sure where I should go next, so if anyone has any recommendations of which would be the next Scalzi book to read, that would be great. I have absolutely no interest in Red Shirts, and I have not much interest in Lock-In, even though I've heard good things about it, but it just doesn't seem, I don't know, I just don't care. I don't know why. Some of the things that I've heard about it make it seem like it should be down my alley, but anyway, unless you want to convince me. So that's John Scalzi, The Collapsing Empire. The next one I've got to talk about is The Gates Women's Country by Sherry S. Tepper. Again, I've done a full review on this. I don't think I've published it yet though, but I've got one ready to go. So I'll probably put that up in the next couple of days if I haven't already. Overall, as a work of literature, I loved it. It was filled with emotional truths, but the philosophical standpoint that it comes down on, I found morally repugnant. So that was an interesting kind of dilemma to find myself in. Again, I'm looking forward to reading more of Tepper's work. So that's The Gate to Women's Country by Sherry S. Tepper. Next, I've got an Australian YA book called Valentine by Jodie McAllister. I was actually surprised by how much I liked this book. When I started it, I was like, oh, it's first person, YA first person. There's lots of text speak and pop culture references, which I don't think is going to age well. So if you're going to read it soon, because I've got a feeling the referencings will get really stale really quickly. It also did that thing where this character is 17 in 2016 and she's referencing Buffy left, right and center, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how much she would have seen of Buffy and how much Buffy would be part of her personal zeitgeist. Personal zeitgeist, is that a contradiction in terms? Possibly. Anyway, how much she would be thinking about Buffy. Anyway, but it was kind of like a story about the fairies and fae and changelings, and it was just really fun and it was really clever, and there was a lot going on in this book that I did really enjoy. And yeah, the main characters Pearl and Finn were cool, and they kind of get together at the end, but they kind of don't. So I liked that about it. Yes, there was the a love triangle thing happening, but it wasn't the worst way it could go. And I also love the fact that at the end, her and her best friend are on the outs, which I think is a realistic way of dealing with the weirdness that has happened to this town. So I'm really looking forward to the next book, which I think is called Ironheart. I'm not sure if it's out yet, but I'm going to check it out. So that's Valentine by Jodie McAllister. The next book that I read scared the crap out of me, and that is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, also known as Shauna Maguire. This scared me because it's about killer mermaids, and things that the deep ocean scares the life out of me in general. It is creepy, and there is something down there. The deep ocean is terrifying. So the fact that I read a book about killer mermaids that come from the deep ocean and are coming to kill us all, I think makes me quite brave, and I'm quite proud of myself. Again, the characters were really believable, really great. The science, as when you were reading it, it seemed plausible, which is something that Mira Grant is really good at doing. Even though it's kind of ridiculous, it's also kind of amazing. And I am really looking forward to having the next book come out. And I think there's the prequel novella, which I think is called Rolling in the Deep. I think I'd also be interested in checking that out soon, because this was really, really good. So that's Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. Next book I read is a Australian crime fiction book set in Perth, of all places, with a small, tiny little fantasy twist, and that is Sharpshooter by Marianne Delacourt. This was really fun. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Stephanie Plum novels, in that it's very, I suppose she comes across as very working class, even though her family is quite wealthy. She herself her life is a bit of a disaster. She's investigating crime way out of her depth. It just reminds me a lot of Stephanie Plum, and she uses a lot of Australian slang and lingo, and it was just so Australian, and I didn't realise how desperately I wanted to read a book by someone who kind of talks like me. I didn't realise how desperately I wanted to read that until I read this. So I really want to read the next one, just because it was fun. It was light. I read it in a day. It was a good time to read. It was a good thing to read by the pool on a stinking hot day. The next book I think is called Sharpshooter. Sharp because that is the name of the character. Her name is Tara Sharp. So this was really fun, and I do recommend it if you can get your hands on a copy if you're looking for some Australian crime fiction. The next book that I want to talk about is Absolute Uncertainty by Lucy Sussex. This is a conversation piece put out by Aqueduct Press. It was a collection of short stories. I didn't like the last one. I was a bit confused by what on earth was going on, but all the others I really, really liked, especially the first one, which was about Margaret Cavendish sort of reappearing in the modern day and being part of the world of high fashion. I've heard a lot about Margaret Cavendish lately, especially because there's been a book that's come out, Margaret the First, which seems to be quite popular, so I think I might need to check that out and look into Margaret Cavendish a little bit more. And the other story in this that I loved is Matilda Told Such Dreadful Lies. I think that I've heard of that story before, so I think that might be her most well-known short story. And I was absolutely fascinated by it because it's kind of about the Australian folk song Waltzing Matilda. And I would really love to know what non-Australians have made of this story, because I don't think it would make sense outside of an Australian context, and yet I think it's quite a popular story, and this is published by Aqueduct Press, so this is an international publisher. What do non-Australians think of the story Matilda Told Such Dreadful Lies? Because I don't see how much sense it could make outside of the Australian context. So if anybody knows anything about that, I doubt it, but if you do, let me know. Okay, so how much time? Ooh, we're cutting it close. Okay, so this is Provenance by Anne Leckie. I loved the Ancillary Justice series, so I was really excited when I heard this was coming out. I heard a lot of people talking about this as like a comedy caper kind of thing. I get the caper. The caper was great. I don't know where the comedy came in, other than like the fact that the girl made some dumb decisions that she shouldn't have, and perhaps like if she'd thought about it a little bit more, it might have worked out better for her. But this was really fun, really great. Anne Leckie is amazing. It's set in the same universe as the ancillary books, but not in the same empire. But there are resonances from what's happened in the ancillary books. And this was great. And Anne Leckie is an amazing writer, and she should write more, and I want to read more of her writing. So this has just come out, so the next one probably won't come out for a while. Actually, I don't know. I think this might be a standalone, but I'm really interested to see what Anne Leckie writes next, because there was a lot going on, like in the universe, in the background, big picture stuff, but this book was very much focused on this small little planet and this one girl and her immediate dramas, even though it has resonances with the rest of her planet and therefore the rest of the universe. It was very focused on her. Okay, so the last three books that I have to talk about, I don't have copies of, because two of them were on ebook and one was lent to a friend. So next I'm going to be talking about, I don't know what I've just done there. Anyway, The Beauty by Aaliyah Whiteley, which I read as an ebook. It's a novella, and it was really, really, really strange. It was beautiful. The writing was incredible, but it was sort of set in this world where all the women had died, and then their bodies started growing, like turning into mushrooms, and then they became these mushroom women, and then they were having sex with the men, and then the men were turning into women, and they were producing these children. It was all very, very, very weird. What is happening? This is bizarre, and yet the writing itself was gorgeous. The next book that again is also a novella, and that was The Blackmail Blend, which is a Cafe La Femme novella by Olivia Day, also an Australian crime fiction book, which was great, a bit of fluff. And I also read volume 3 of The Paper Girls, which was great, and I love The Paper Girls, and it was awesome. You should all read it. So these are the physical books that I have to show you of the things that I read in December 2017. I had a great reading month. Looking forward to hearing what you read, and I'm racing through to get to the end of this video. And have a very happy, I hope everyone had a great Christmas, a happy new year, and good luck for 2018 and all your reading. What are your reading goals for 2018? Thank you. I am Kate. This is my December 2017 wrap up. Bye.